This is Tyler Chandler. I am one of your friendly neighborhood Microsoft Retail Partner Stores District Managers, coming to you for a virtual lunch and learn, which is obviously a little bit unprecedented. But hey, we are in new and interesting times, as I'm sure you are all aware. First and foremost, before I get into this, I hope everyone is staying safe. I hope everyone is doing their due diligence to fight this outbreak and this pandemic in the way that is best for you and your families. That said, to some degree, business continues on, right? And that makes our stated mission at Microsoft, which is to be Best Buy's best partner, even more crucial. Now, we can do that in a couple different ways. One, we can provide you out with food and pizza and some grub and some snacks just to get through your shift. So hopefully that's well appreciated. Beyond that, though, our real focus and the meat and potatoes of what I want to talk to you about is how do we make Best Buy associates and blue shirts in the computing space and secondary departments wicked smart when it comes to all things Microsoft, specifically the Microsoft Surface. Right now, with people staying home from work and people being grounded from school, it's a great opportunity to connect customers with a device that will help them be most productive. So that's what I want to talk about just a little bit as you all chow down. So, to me, the Surface sales motion starts well before we ever get a customer to the actual Surface table. Best Buy's sales model is WUSA. It stands for welcome, understand, sell, and appreciate. To me, we really get through the first half of that before we ever get to the actual Surface table. So we welcome the customer in a genuine and empathetic and curious manner. At that point, we get into the understand phase, and that's really about seeking to understand a customer's unique human needs. So we're going to ask them a bunch of questions, right? Potentially, who's using the device? What do you do for a living? How many people are in the family? What do you currently have? Are there any products that you've researched, and so on and so forth? We're going to take all that information and kind of put it in our back pocket for the time being. Now, here's the great thing about Surface, and I'll get into this in a moment, but we have such a diverse lineup of products that no matter what the customer says to those lifestyle questions, we have the opportunity to say something which is really, really powerful in retail, and that is based on what you told me. You can say based on what you told me, it instantly establishes trust between you and your customer. So if I say based on what you told me, I think you might be interested in knowing a little bit about our Surface line of product. That's going to get the customer instantly excited to learn more. So from there, we begin the Surface sales motion proper. Now, Surface is, at simplest price point, $500 typically. When you're looking at a Surface Pro 7, which is one of our most popular SKUs, you're talking $600, $700, $800 for a device that on paper stacks up to the other devices in your department that might be $300, $400, and $500. So that becomes an objection that we have to recognize, I think, at the outset of this conversation. Now, what I'm going to do over the next 3 to 4 minutes is really help you navigate that objection. And that's really the intent of our dialogue here today. So when we talk about premium brands, could be premium car manufacturers, could be premium, let's use a Best Buy example, premium speakers like Bowers & Wilkins. A pair of Bowers & Wilkins 702 speakers cost you $5,000. A pair of Klipsch Tower speakers cost you about $500. On paper, those two things look highly analogous to one another. The reality, of course, is that the Bowers & Wilkins speaker is a dramatically better speaker. So you start thinking about how do we get customers to conceptualize and understand that? Well, first and foremost, we talk about brand story. We want customers to understand what the Bowers & Wilkins brand means. If we're talking premium auto manufacturers, we want them to know what the Mercedes brand story, the BMW brand story, the Porsche or Ferrari brand story means. So for us, if we start there, the idea of Microsoft's Surface brand story is no more complicated than this. Microsoft Surface is the best of Microsoft. So I'm going to repeat it because it should be very, very simple. Surface is the best of Microsoft. Now, if you want to elaborate and add your own spin, by all means, but the reality is we always built software at Microsoft. We built Windows as an operating system. We built Office as a productivity suite. We wanted to build hardware that best supported those software platforms. We wanted to challenge our OEM partners to up their game as well. So that's the Surface brand story. Very, very simple. So we tell the customer, hey, I think based on what you told me, you might be interested in knowing a little bit about Surface. Right? How much do you know about Surface? Their mileage might vary, but they probably say not a whole lot. So that's where we introduce the brand story. Well, Surface is simply put the best of Microsoft. Now, when you think about Surface, there's 3 things that are the same across all Surface devices. Does not matter which one you're looking at, from the Go all the way to the Creative Studio. And it's what we call the shared DNA. Now, these three things, I'm going to give you the Microsoft district manager corporate speak for them, but this is probably not how you're actually going to talk to your customer. But those three bits of shared DNA are bright and beautiful touchscreens, unparalleled style and craftsmanship, and the best of Windows and the best of Office. Now, since we're talking about being human and discovering human needs, I think, a more natural way to talk about the shared DNA is to say, listen, there's three things that are the same across the Surface line. They all have touchscreens, they all have great build quality, and they're all designed specifically for Windows and for Office. So once we establish, get into the third phase of this sales motion, which is the idea that there's a Surface for everyone. Now, I want to be really clear. That doesn't mean that there's every Surface for everyone, and then when we're talking about Surface, we should start at the go and move our way all the way to the studio, explaining every single difference of the Surface line of product. That's simply going to overwhelm your customer and something that we don't want to do. We instead want to go back to that tried and true best practice that we talked about earlier and say, based on what you told me, right? So I did all these discovery questions during the understand phase of WooSaw. Now it's time for me to go back into my back pocket and pull those out and actually leverage them. So once I establish, hey, Surface is the best of Microsoft, there's a couple things that are the same. They all have touch screens, they all have great build quality, they're all designed around Windows and Office. Now I get to say, based on what you told me, I really think the Surface Pro 7 or the Surface Laptop 3 or the Surface Go is going to be the best fit for you. But again, you'll notice I'm only talking about a single device. I don't want to overwhelm my customer. Right now, I might get that wrong, and the customer will certainly let me know, and then I can pivot and go to another device, right? But I want to lead and be courageous coming in with a single device. So then that we get to the fun part of this strategy, right? And that is to show off the Surface difference, the things that the Surface can do that no other computer in your store is able to do. So if I pull up this slide here, but I'm going to talk a little bit about the Surface Pro 7 because that's probably the most common Surface device that we sell. Things like having a removable Alcantara type cover. That's unique to the Surface. We should show customers that. Every time I've shown a customer that, they have dropped their jaw, right? Now we see it all day long and we get a little bit, I think, numb to how cool that is, but every time a customer sees it for the first time, they're amazed, right? We have to remember we're doing this for the customer, not for ourselves. I can show a magnetic pen and how it attaches to the device. I can show them a 165-degree kickstand. I can show them, expandable micro SD card slots on it. I can show how the type cover itself is durable enough with the rare earth magnets to be able to support the entire device. I can even take a key and lightly rub it against the Corning Gorilla Glass screen and not leave any sort of marks, residue, etc. Now, those are all physical hardware examples. I know that those are physical hardware examples because everything I just mentioned to you, I can do without the device even being powered on. And that's a really powerful thing to show a customer. Now, if I do want to flick the device on, I can show off things like Instant On, Touchscreen, Windows Ink Workspace, and all the other cool stuff that we can do on Windows 10, which again, Surface is designed specifically to support. If I'm talking about a Surface Laptop 3, I might show the customer the unique color options, right? In the world of space grays and platinums and blacks, we have really, really unique and vibrant color options like cobalt and sandstone, previously burgundy. So again, we have an opportunity to show off our personality with the Surface Laptop 3. We have a unibody frame, a unibody design. That means that there's no visible hinges, no visible screws anywhere on that device. It is the sleekest, slimmest, and lightest laptop at both the 13.5-inch and 15-inch models that we carry in Best Buy. Lastly, we can show off One Touch Open. It's a really cool feature where when you open the laptop lid with one finger, the entire device will not slide backwards. It will not topple over as most other computers will do. It's not about customers typically opening their device with one finger. The idea, though, is how much care and craftsmanship has gone into every last thought in the Surface Laptop 3. And I could go on and on, but that's what this slide is really designed to do. And you're going to have a physical paper copy of this as well if you need to reference in your stores. But those are the reasons that people elect to purchase a Surface. It has nothing to do at all with i5, 8 gig, 128 gig solid state hard drives, right? The reality is I can get you a Surface that has an i7, 32 gigs of RAM, and a 512 or a 1 terabyte solid state hard drive. It's not about the specs. It's about the unique differentiating features that the Surface offers that nobody else does. So that's the Surface sales motion in a nutshell. We introduce it with the brand story, which is the best of Microsoft. We talk about the shared DNA, bright and beautiful touchscreens, unparalleled style and craftsmanship, the best of Windows, the best of Office. We pivot from there to say, based on what you told me, I'm going to recommend a Surface for you specifically. And then we get into the fun stuff, which is really showing off the competitive differentiators that only the Surface line of product has. So that's it for me on this module. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got a little bit of information. And more importantly, hope again you're enjoying your food and you and your family are staying safe. Thanks so much, guys.